City Council meeting of February 24th, 2022 to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Ms. Thomas?
Here.
Mr. Orchakowski? Here. Mr. Nestor?
Present.
Mr. Greger?
Present.
Mr. Moser?
Present. We got a couple of typographical errors and we need to make correction of.
Amending the agenda in accordance to the new sunshine law. This will be a motion to amend the agenda. Item number 7, under Mr. Moser's portion of the meeting, should read motion for the first reading of ordinance 1259 and authorization to advertise. That is the ordinance for the Penvest loan as part of the sewage project. And also item number 9 under the mayor's portion of the meeting, it's for exoneration of taxes for a parcel of property that was previously in the tax forgiveness program. The wrong parcel number and address were there. Number 9 should read motion to exonerate unpaid taxes amounting to $7,624,019 for tax map number 20-0208-0062 for 217 Perenni Boulevard, and that is based on a lien certificate from the county dated December 13th, 2021. So we'll need a motion and a second and a vote on the amendment.
Make a motion to amend the agenda as stated.
I'll second.
Is there any questions? Call roll.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Orchakowski? Yes. Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Aye. Could we rise for a prayer by Pastor John Custer of the Workers Christian Fellowship Church? Here's a mic.
Oh, great, thank you.
Okay, a very important thing happens when we agree. God's told us when 2 of us agree concerning anything, then do what we ask. I have a couple simple things to ask for tonight, and so I think we can agree on all these. Let's pray. God, we bring to you tonight needs. I pray first of all for just some immediate needs in the city here. I pray that you would boost provision so that the great workers and servants that serve our community here can have their provision and their livelihood. I pray that you would loose that and keep that all going. And I pray for great wisdom for the staff, for our mayor and all of his staff, and all the citizens during this time. Give grace to us. The second thing I pray for, Lord, I don't ask you tonight to just take all the challenges away with a sweep of your hand. They're here for a reason. You have put some of them here. And so help us to grow strong because of these. We want to be better as a community, better as individuals, better as organizations, whatever we do here in this city. Cause this to happen. And the third thing I ask for is a great spirit of increasing optimism. Not that we don't appreciate what we do have. We thank you for that. But I pray that there be almost a song on the heart of all of us, on the citizens of the city, that even though there might be problems over there across the river or in the mountains and some other community, Monessen is a place to be.
Yes.
And this is something that has to come from you, Lord. And so tonight, we ask all these things, look to your hand. These are things that we cannot do. We depend on you. We ask these things because of your great love for the people of Monessen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. God bless you.
We have a pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've got a couple presentations that we need to make.
I don't know if I did.
Is Dan here? Ah, there you go. Would you like to come up and give us your presentation? And we'll get a mic right there.
I'm Dan Ziglovich, the president of the Greater Monessen Historical Society, and I want to thank the mayor for asking me to come down and read to all of you the history of the Monessen Savings and Trust Company building at 500 Donner that we have in our archives. The Monessen Savings and Trust Company was incorporated in November of 1901 with $125,000 in capital and opened for business on April 1st, 1902 in the Barker Building at the corner of 6th and Donner. Colonel James M. Schoonmaker was one of the first directors. It was decided by the Board of Directors on February 26, 1903 to erect a 5-story fireproof building of brick, stone, and steel at the corner of 5th Street and Donner Avenue on 3 lots. The lower story would be fitted for the bank and storerooms, while the other 4 floors would be used as offices, flats, and lodge rooms. After reconsideration of the location and plans, the final product was a 3-story building that opened on December 9, 1905 at a cost of $65,000. The architect was Marius Rousseau. In 1915, with war raging in Europe, Mr. and Mrs. Thomas Agnew of Monessen and Samuel Proudfoot of Pricedale purchased tickets in the foreign department of the Savings and Trust Company to travel to Ireland on the liner Lusitania. The ship was torpedoed by a German U-boat, resulting in their deaths. A powerful natural gas explosion in the Savings and Trust building in the summer of 1916 wrecked the real estate and foreign department of the bank. A leaking pipe was ignited by the smoldering fire in the furnace, but no one was seriously injured. Papers, typewriters, desks, and chairs were strewn about, while the 2 large plate glass windows were broken and knocked into Donner Avenue. Before the United States entered World War I in 1917, the Savings and Trust Company volunteered to transport money from Monessen immigrants through the British blockade to relatives in Imperial Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The bank employed Wayne Fry, a recent Monessen College graduate, to travel into the war zones of Europe with bank funds. He left on October 26, 1916, from New York on the steamer United States, bound for Copenhagen, Denmark. British Marines boarded the ship in Scotland and searched for contraband. Fry was allowed to continue his journey. At the German border, he was strip searched but allowed to continue to Vienna and Berlin. He spent a month in Vienna, where he witnessed the funeral of the aged Emperor Franz Joseph. He also traveled to Budapest to witness the coronation of Franz Joseph's great-nephew Karl as the last apostolic king of Hungary. To return to Monessen, he was given 36 hours to travel across German territory and board the steamer Frederick at Copenhagen. He arrived home to Monessen on January 18, 1917. The Palace of Sweets began using the basement of the Savings and Trust Company in 1919 to make 284 kinds of candy. In 1926, the Monessen Savings and Trust Company merged with the First National Bank and decided to construct a new building across the street. The new bank opened with pomp and ceremony on March 7, 1928, and it was estimated that between 10 and 12,000 adults attended the opening. On October 13, 1931, after heavy withdrawals, the First National Bank and Trust Company voted to close and never reopened. They had only been in the new building a little over 3 years. Following the move of the bank from the 500 Donner Avenue location in 1928, the property was leased to the Green Stores Incorporated, which remodeled the first floor and basement to accommodate their department store. A 30-year lease was signed. The new store opened on August 30th, 1928. On the morning of March 14th, 1929, a fire was discovered in the building. Thousands of gallons of water were poured into the first floor and basement to bring the fire under control. In addition to Monessen's fire department, units were dispatched from Charleroi and North Bell Vernon. Guests were forced to leave the Grand Hotel as smoke completely filled the buildings on the block. The first floor of the Green Store collapsed. It is estimated that $75,000 of damage was caused by the fire. As the Savings and Trust Company building was being restored by the Mott's Lumber Company, the Green Stores merged with McClellan Stores. The McClellan Stores opened in the restored location on May 23, 1929. By late June of 1933, McClellan lost their lease and were vacating the building. The first floor was remodeled and transformed into a modern food store with a color scheme of pale and olive green with white, as the A&P Grocery moved into the location at the beginning of August. On November 16, 1936, the Monessen Savings and Trust Company building was purchased by George Hughes, the retired superintendent of the Pittsburgh Steel Company blast furnace, for $44,025 from the receivership that had administered the holdings of the former trust company since 1931. It was noted that that was $1,000 per square foot for a property on Donner Avenue. He immediately had the outside of the building cleaned by sandblasting. In 1948, the A&P constructed a large grocery store on the site of the former Pittsburgh and Lake Erie Railroad Station at 6th and Donner. The Thrift Drug Company then relocated from 544 Donner into the old Monessen Savings and Trust building and remained there until 1976 when the store closed. In September of '76, the Health Mart relocated across Donner into the vacant location. The Health Mart closed their Monessen store in the late 1980s, and Panorama Enterprises, run by Mary Leone, moved into the facility and was the last business to occupy the site until they moved to Spears. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The one thing that I have a passion for is history, and there is history in that building. Before we go on, let's see, we have Jeff Mills do a little presentation. Can I get that mic up here real quick?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, good evening. This is Jeff Mills, Bond Counsel. I want to discuss tonight in front of Council is an ordinance for the city to consider the interim financing associated with the sewer project for the concrete lining of approximately 13,000 feet of large brick trunk sewer lines on 3rd Street, 6th Street, 9th Street, and 12th Street. Renew 8,000 feet of 8 to 24-inch pipe with cast-in-place pipe and replace 105 manholes. This was all part of the USDA award for $15,190,000. The ordinance tonight is for the interim financing, which is required by the USDA in order to receive the 40-year financing by USDA at an interest rate of 1.125% estimated in the future. But in order to do so, the city must enter into interim financing with PNC for 36 months of interest-only financing. And all of this is tonight in accordance with the Local Government Unit Debt Act. After the board or city council considers the ordinance and is passed, we will then do a post-enactment act notifying the public that the city did in fact pass the ordinance. That will be sent to the Department of Community Economic Development in Harrisburg, and the loan is set to close on March 31st of this year. And then the city can begin the construction of the project. I believe that your solicitor has talked to you already about the project.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions they'd like to address on that? Anybody from council, is what we really need to do right now.
Mr. Telegraph, you'll have a chance to ask questions.
Well, I like the question.
If there's no questions here, though, we do need to open it up for public comment on agenda items, so.
Mr. Bills, can you hang on one
Sure.
more minute? Thanks.
This is agenda item.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Jeff. Jeff Mills.
Jeff Mills.
Hey, Jeff, can you hear me, Jeff?
Put it up here.
Yes, I can.
Okay. I have a question. Could city council determine when they want to close? You're saying March 31, and the reason for that is it might be too soon for them to get this ball moving, because they may not get all their marbles together, because March and April is kind of risky as far as weather, and I don't want them to get behind the 8 ball and then they owe all this money.
Well, they will only, the date is set by PNC on March 31st, and based off the timing of this ordinance, we should have sufficient time to close. The city will only incur any interest payments when it borrows. So it's a line of credit. So in the event the city, if for some reason you're correct and they delay the start of the project, they will not have any payments owed. It will only be as they draw down on the line of credit.
This is in writing by PNC?
Yes, yep.
Okay, well, as long as they got it in writing, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's all in writing, it's all
I got
documented.
other questions. Okay, Joe, thanks.
You're welcome.
I have a couple other items. One, I stopped and talked to one of the guys that are putting the Jersey barrier down there. And I asked him, when are they gonna start knocking down the building? He says he heard next week. Is that true?
There's a lot of contingencies before we can do that.
Okay.
As fast as we can, though.
Okay, but there's a couple of items here that's gonna jack up the price. One is, do you have somebody that's gonna take care of the asbestos? Do you have another contractor or the same contractor to take care of the water problem that Don Gregor mentioned last meeting? Okay? I don't want you guys to rush into something and then we gotta add 2, 3 other contractors. Before you know it, it could be like $300,000. And number 2, how are you coming along with securing funds so that Monessen isn't caught with paying all these bills?
Well, I'd like to talk quite a bit about that, to be real honest with you. First off, I have been working with the senators and congressmen and had a meeting Monday morning, as a matter of fact, with Senator Stefano and Congressman Devanzio. Present at that meeting was also the Westmoreland County Redevelopment Authority / Land Bank. And the purpose of that was twofold. One was to chart a course forward, and 2, to see if we can get the funding to get this all to happen. As of yesterday, they're waiting for this meeting today for a clear direction tomorrow to release $199,468 for purposes of demolishing that building. Part of the problem has been, can we really demolish it for that money? And the work that we've been doing with numerous contractors says that we can. We can, in fact, demolish it for that money. Now, that doesn't mean we can just jump up and down and go demolish it right now. And that does take into account the water and all the different things that you brought up. The thing that we just can't do is, there are procedures associated with state money, and this is state money. That includes SHPO, State Historic Officers, anyway, SHPO, that's what it's called. It's a state organization that really, any time that money is used from the state, you have to make sure that you've addressed all the history things. I have a strong history interest. We had gentlemen give a very good history exam of that. The things that he probably didn't continue on is what happened since the last time that where his history stopped. After the building was vacated in 2012, I believe it was condemned by Rich DiMaggio, the then code officer for Monessen. And at that time, it was ordered demolished, by the way. That's what condemnation does. It really didn't become too much of an issue until a week and a half ago, when the bricks started coming off the top of the building. The first thing we did was we closed off 6th Street. Well, since that time, we've had big major chunks come down from the top of that building. The great big heavy sandstone blocks. These are not just little bricks anymore. These are big things that crush sidewalks and the like. At that point, NDOT decided this is a critical issue. We've got to block off the road. So now everybody that came here tonight came down Donner, saw that there's Jersey barriers in the way. This city can't exist with our towns in this state right now. We've got to address this very quickly. It is my intent to keep moving forward as fast as we possibly can to get this building brought down, using the funds that we have available to do that.
Mayor, you need to get contractors. You don't keep going to the same contractor.
We've gone to, what is it, 8?
Yeah, at least 8.
At least 8 different contractors.
And then get them in writing.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so this way here, you're gonna use our money first. You have some sort of, let's say, schedule.
Well, there's several things that are taking place here, and our solicitor can probably clarify some of these things, but because it is an emergency, and it is something that we have declared as such, that allows a third-class city to do things perhaps a little bit different than what would normally take place. When this meeting on Monday that I visited with, is the context of it was that the Westmoreland County Redevelopment Authority had received $75,000 from the county commissioners in the form of art money to contribute to demolishing that building. They depended upon us coming up with the other $199,000. They wanted complete 100% control. After all, as he explained to me, they've got 1,000 buildings like that in Westmoreland County. They put together a schedule, and that schedule would get rid of that building, optimistically, best case, in mid-June. More likely July, and it had all kinds of contingencies, could take a year and a half to do. The point being is, because we are a third-class city, because we declared it an emergency, because we have our own funds, and because we think we can demolish it for those funds, we can act much quicker than that. And I think that there may be 1,000 buildings like that in Westmoreland County, but there's 1, maybe 2 like that in this town. I have a responsibility to the citizens to protect them and provide basic infrastructure.
Okay, I just got one last question. I'm still told that there's a buyer, Mr. Young. He's still willing to buy.
So no, let's get that clear to that. First off, Mr. Wilbur Young is part of the Pittsburgh, the Young Pittsburgh Preservationists. And we've had numerous emails back and forth. The whole point of what he has been doing, first off, he's never said he had a buyer. And if he did, I'd ask him, if he's got the money, show up here, we will talk, I will do something. Because I'm always open to ideas. What he has said was he would take our $200,000 that we're getting from the state and leverage that to go get other grants and other monies to demolish or to do something with that building. And I have to think for just a second. That building, the estimations that they had from just a few months ago for the roof, for repointing the bricks, for doing the windows, was well over $600,000 or $700,000. So that's not to fix it up. I mean, the time you get done, you're going to have a couple $1 million in this. And I have to think, Is that what Monessen Lights would like to see happen with public tax money? Is that the best use you could use with that kind of money in Monessen? When we have the roads that we have, when we have all the other issues going on, do we want to put all of our eggs into saving that building? And to be honest, leveraging that money and not having any firm commitments, anything that promises that we have the money, I've asked him to come to these meetings. I've asked him to present what his solution was. I'm always ears, I'm always open to ideas, but I do not believe that we have the luxury of waiting. I have a letter here that was written by one of the local businesses here. I'll just read it real quick. This was written by Sherry and Bernie Fertile of the pasta shop. It says, our family has been a resident of the city of Monessen our entire life. Our roots have always been here, and we are proud to call Monessen our hometown. We have purchased and operated the pasta shop at 509 Donner for more than 20 years. Like every business, our business has had its ups and downs over that time frame. Over the last few years, we have been hit with numerous hurdles that almost ended our existence. And he has a reference to a newspaper article that said that. Like the entire city of Monessen, I have struggled and fought to survive no matter what's been thrown at us. However, we are now facing another obstacle that is hindering our ability to keep our doors open. The Health Mart building is a hazard to the community and needs to be torn down. Due to the dilapidated building, Fifth Street has been closed, and my longtime customers from Charleroi are getting frustrated with being able to get to our restaurant. On top of that, since the pandemic started, takeout has been a popular option with our customers. Due to this building, my front parking is now obsolete, and the customers are unable to pull up for takeout service. This building has been a danger to civilians for the last few years and is only getting worse. Many people, including both of us, are concerned to walk in the vicinity of the building, and it is a miracle someone has not yet been hurt by a falling brick. Please, for the sake of the community and our family's livelihood, please immediately tear down the building. We cannot afford to wait any longer as our business is currently significantly affected. We appreciate your support and decision in this request. We look forward to remaining key members in helping to build back our community. Thank you for your prompt attention and consideration. I read that for only one reason, that I think that is the general sentiment of a great number of people in Monessen. It is hard to get around town right now with that road in the condition it's in. And to be real honest with you, maybe it's just me, but ever since they built the Jersey barriers, that storm drain that's in the middle of the road with the heavy trucks driving across it, it looks like that's starting to collapse. And I think we're going to have a problem there if we don't address that. That's new road with new stuff. We can't afford to have that become a problem. This is a domino effect. I don't know what to say. You look at that building, it's a danger, and we've got to act. Anybody like to say anything about that? I'm all ears. The next is approval of minutes for the February 10th, 2022 council meeting. I apologize, they've not been transcribed and included in this packet, so I need to put up that off.
Table that motion.
Table it.
Need a motion to table it.
I make the motion to table it. Second, Mayor.
Any questions? Please call the roll.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Aye. Jerry, would you like to give your report?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I have no report at this meeting. The previous report I gave at the last council meeting was the most updated. The next updated report I have will be the next month's council meeting.
Very good. Thank you. Rosalie, would you like to do anything?
I have the same issue. The up-to-date report is not available.
Okay.
It will be available next month.
Thank you. And our solicitor.
Sure. The first item is regarding the sewage project and the two loans. The first that Mr. Mills spoke about earlier, ordinance 1258 for the interim financing for the USDA loan. I think Mr. Mills went through that adequately. I'll move on to the Penvest loan, which is up for a first reading and advertising tonight. It's also to comply with the Local Government Unit Debt Act. This was discussed at the last 2 or 3 meetings. This ordinance will be on the March 10th agenda for adoption. And once it is approved, the city will have to submit their packet to DCED to get approval. Once that approval is granted, they'll go through the closing process. Part of that closing process is, for this portion of the sewage project, it'll actually be advertised for bids. We have to get the bid in and awarded prior to closing the loan. So that's how that process will play out. The next item is the tax forgiveness program. There's 2 motions on the agenda tonight for the exoneration of taxes. These were properties that were entered into the program last year. The taxes were not forgiven because the city didn't have a meeting prior to the end of the year. The issue with these properties is that they are up for judicial sale, and the current owners have the risk of losing those properties. The school district has already exonerated these taxes, and it's up for action tonight. And the school district and city are working together to revamp this program. There will be a meeting with Mr. Moser, myself, the superintendent, Dr. Spazak, and the school district solicitor next week to move forward with a joint plan that then will be presented to the County Tax Claim Bureau. The next item is the partial collapse of 500 Donner. I want to make it clear that the moment those bricks fell off of that building and the demolition was starting to be vetted, the very first phone call that Tony Vitale, the city's engineer, made was to the Department of Environmental Protection. There has been no specifications released yet because of that very point. And another issue involving SHPO. The city's been in constant communication with the DEP, almost on a daily basis, to make sure that this demolition process is going to be done right. I can't stress that enough. The fact of the matter is somebody filed a complaint on February 15th. That was the day after Mr. Moser declared an emergency, a day prior to the special meeting that City Council had on the 16th. The city didn't even have the ability to get in touch with the DEP to make sure they're doing the right thing. The city's already getting allegations thrown against them that they're violating the law and they're just going to let asbestos-laden material lay there on site. That's not the case at all. I mean, we've been jumping through every possible hoop and every legal avenue to make sure that this demolition is going to comply with the law. And the more of this that council and the city has to face, and I get it, this building's a hot topic, and it was a political pond at one point or another. The moment the bricks started falling off, and some of those bigger bricks, that's it. It's a public safety issue now. That has to be paramount in this issue. And I can't tell you the amount of conversations that Tony Vitale has had with the DEP to make sure it's going to go smoothly as possible. The next item is the DCED management program. There was a resolution passed by council at the last meeting. I worked with the mayor to put together the financial hardship narrative so the city can avoid paying the 50% local match and only pay the 10% local match. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you. Well, it's time to get down to the business that we have in front of us. I need a motion to hire a auditor.
A motion to appoint Cipher & Cipher as our 2021, 2022, 2023 auditor at the rate of $25,000, $26,500, and $27,750 respectively.
Is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Are there any questions?
I just have a comment.
Okay.
This is the only bid that we had, so pretty much we're stuck with it. However, this is also the same company. Can I go on?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. This is also the company when it came time to have our 2019 audit. They never showed up to do the audit, and I just thought that the public should be aware of that.
That's fine. The one thing that has always impressed me by those people, though, is they did come and present it to the public when the audit was complete. And that's something that we haven't seen in a couple of years. So,
I would have to agree with you there, but again, they had a contract for 3 years, and when it was time to audit 2019, they just didn't show up. I'm not sure what the
I think
situation
to play
was.
devil's advocate, I think it was in the paper that the reason they did not show up was they felt they were being used as a pawn during that time. for the audit.
Cipher? They had a contract to show up.
So,
You have a
I
contract
think it
to
was
show
in
up
the
and do your
paper,
job.
but I'm just reciting, so.
yeah, there was a lot of politics there.
And the other thing is I can't speak for why they didn't show up, or why, what, were they supposed to be here, were they told, were they all, that's all skepticism in my opinion. I spoke to Mr. Cipher when all this was happening, we did not have an auditor, and we got, the last council got the auditors, Wolf, that they got those, that firm from Uniontown. Mr. Cipher told me, and I don't know, I can only specify what he said to me was, he says he never got a communication back. Now, whether that's true or not, it doesn't, I can't validate that, but I can tell you the man said that. That's all I know.
All I know is he had a contract and he didn't honor it.
So they broke somewhere, there's no doubt. Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Orchowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Can I vote present?
No.
No.
Mr. Moser?
Yes. Here's one that's very near and dear to my heart.
Motion to appoint Mike, yeah, I know, it's a little hot though. See, motion to appoint Mike Corbish as city administrator at the rate of $5,000 per month on the temporary basis for 90 days, contingent of the solicitor's review of the consulting agreement.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any questions? I'd like to make a couple comments. We do have the proposal, so something you can review and make sure it's good.
Yep.
Okay. Well, call the roll.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Orchowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Mayor, motion to advertise the position of deputy treasurer in the local newspaper. Any AFSCME union applicant will receive preferential treatment during evaluation of all applicants in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
Are there any questions?
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Orchowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Aye.
Mayor, motion to pay WEEC $65,000 from the line usage fund. In doing so, the USDA interim loan shall be paid back in line usage account $65,000 when received by the city.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions concerning this?
Comment, Mayor?
Please.
So, all of the fees that WEC was paid for the design of this USDA project that were paid out of the line usage and any other funds, such as the general fund, will be reimbursed by this interim loan. Just want to make that clear.
For everybody's information, that's well in excess of $1.1 million. Call the roll.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Orchowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Mayor, motion to enter an agreement with, for asbestos testing for the $500 avenue with Rittenhour & Sons Construction Company and authorizing up to $2,500 as payment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Just make a couple comments here. This is really for our protection. This will set it aside. Because that has been declared an emergency, it is possible that you demolish that building, separate what you think is possible asbestos and what's not, have that tested, keep it wet, and go through the process while it's on the ground. But there are certain savings that can be done if we know what we're up against while it's still standing. And that's the reason why this is important.
After the vote tonight, is there a timeline about when he will be able to do that?
I would think that he would have it done by Tuesday. Call the roll.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Yes.
Bill, it's number 6.
I'll do it. Motion to adopt ordinance number 1258, USDA interim loan, Laguda. An ordinance of increasing the non-electoral indebtedness of the city of Monessen, County of Westmoreland, PA, by the issuance of a guaranteed revenue note in the amount of $15,190,000 for capital purposes, fixing the form, number, date, interest, and maturity thereof, making a covenant for the payment of the debt service on the note, and authorizing the execution, sale, and delivery thereof.
Is there a second?
Second, Mayor. Oh, good.
Any questions?
Mr. Schulzer, can you explain that in terms?
Yeah, this is the ordinance number 1258 that Mr. Mills spoke about. This is authorizing the city to proceed with the borrowing of the interim loan.
This is the go button. Do we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Aye.
First reading of ordinance number 1259. An ordinance increasing the indebtedness of the city of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania by the issue of a guaranteed revenue note in a maximum principal amount of $2,370,000 for purposes of rehabilitating sewage lines, fixing the form, dates, interest, and maturity thereof, making a covenant for the payment of debt service on the note, providing the filing of the required documentation with the Department of Community Economic Development to incur and exclude additional debt of the governmental unit, providing for the appointment of a sinking fund depository for the note, providing for the authorized signatories, and authorizing execution, sale, and delivery thereof.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions?
Just an explanation, this, like ordinance 1258, is the ordinance that, once enacted, will allow the city to proceed with closing the Penvest loan for that portion of the sewage project.
I'd like to make a couple comments also. These two projects together are major projects. They are going to be bringing in people that are going to line these pipes and so forth with technology that's just not available off the shelf and readily available. The point being is, for a period of a few months, we're going to see lots of activity with lots of people coming in from other states. It's going to be busy. It's going to be hopping. This is not a little project. This will be the biggest project to hit western Pennsylvania in a long time. We're talking a bunch of work, and it's going to be busy. All I'm really saying is, I want to get rid of that Fifth Street and Donner building so that I don't have to worry about that when we're spending $17-some million on trying to get the sewer going, because I want to be on top of that. I know we've got engineering that's doing it and so forth, but this is a big project. Could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Aye.
Motion for Monessen City Council to forgive unpaid taxes of $1,426.71. Tax map number 20-02-07-0-173. Property 415 Clarendon Avenue. Real estate tax lien certificate dated 12/21/21. The Monessen School District has forgiven these properties of $2,669.70 in taxes. The Westmoreland County has forgiven these properties of $969.20 in taxes.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Let me make this very clear. This is really mandated because these are properties that had a lot of taxes and they're scheduled to go before the judicial system. The judicial system would not allow the person that owns this property to even bid on the property. It would be taken away from him absolutely. So it is really critical that we at least protect that particular person. Next week, we'll get into rejuvenating this entire program, but it'll have different things going on. In the meantime, we need to do this. Please call the roll.
Sure. Ms.
I have a question. Isn't that the one that had the error that we were supposed to?
No,
No, the
well,
next one.
the next one is.
The next one?
I'll correct that.
Okay, just double checking.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Aye. I'll read the next one because it is my mistake. Need a motion of City Council to forgive unpaid taxes of $7,624.19. This is for tax map number 2002-08-0062. The property is located at 217 Parente, and it has a real estate tax certificate dated 12/13/21. The Monessen School District has already forgiven school taxes of $14,228.11, and the county has forgiven $4,629.31. This is another of the same properties. Any other questions? I need a second again. Or did we do that?
We need a motion and a second.
I need the motion.
Okay.
Would it be a motion to accept the mayor's reading?
We already-
Since he put in the minutes.
We already amended the agenda before the meeting started.
Okay. Second, Mayor.
Any other questions?
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Aye. Tony, would you like to take your role?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to make a motion to pay bills from the general fund totaling $55,186.35.
Second.
Is there a second?
I have a list, I think I passed it out to everybody. Those are the list of the bills. If you might want to notice, there's two partial payments. One was for West Penn Power for $5,000, and the other one was for Compass Mineral at $5,000. Their balances before that $5,000 are shown there on the right-hand side. I'll go into the rest of it after you take a vote.
Okay. Any questions? Call the roll.
Ms. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor?
Aye.
Mr. Greger?
Aye.
Mr. Moser?
Aye.
That will leave, that as of 2/23, that left us with a balance of $11,647.02 in the general fund. The total balance owed prior to these payment of these bills were $764,398.54. After tonight's passage of the $55,000, we're at $709,212.19. Since Tuesday, and this is Thursday, the 24th, we've got another $19,469.45 in our general fund. So instead of being $11,647.02 left in the general, we now have $31,116.47. Like somebody would like to know how current we are.
You're still short for payroll next Thursday.
Yeah, we are.
Got a week to
Where
go.
you get that money?
Got a week to go.
Got a week to go, right?
That's the life of
Welcome to
City
my
Council.
world. Welcome to my world. A couple other things for, if anybody wants to know for the public. Escrow accounts, fire escrow account has a balance of $54,044.83. General fund, I just told you what the balance was. Payroll account has $17,961.58. The grant fund, which is the DEA account fund, has $41,987.25. Debt service now has a total of $118,366.30. Parks Recreation has $18,246.25. Line usage before the $65,000 that was approved tonight to come out had $104,658.46. Healthcare fund had $7,647.65, and county tax collector is lingering at the big $3.58.
Thank you.
And that's my report, Mayor.
Very good. Your turn, John. Public safety.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of council, audience members, and the city of Monessen. Here's the following report for the safety department. Spent time with the code officer, Martin Davis, past few weeks, signed some plumbing licenses, spoke with West Penn Power about lighting issues. If you have any burnt out lights, street lights in your neighborhood, please get the pool number if possible. It's typically a 3 or 4 digit number. With that pool number, please contact 724-684-4620, which is the police station, and provide that information. In return, they will notify West Penn Power. Met with the operations manager, Randy Shelton from Cleveland Cliff. Spoke about any needs Monessen can offer to keep them successful. Spent time talking over practicing a command center involving them in the city in the spring. Also asked if they might have any materials to help assist with 500 Donner. Met with and I thank you, Randy, for your time. I met with the president and CEO, Gabriel Hudock of the Sims Arsenal Middle, to go over any needs and services they might need. Asked if they might have anything to help with 500 Donner. They were generous enough to donate fencing to block off the sidewalk. I'd also like to thank Mr. Hudock for the donation and the love he has for the city of Monessen and taking the time of meeting with me. I'd also like to thank the street crew for going down there and picking up the fencing. I'd also like to thank Chief Heppel and the mayor. On last Friday there was a power outage. You guys took care of that and meeting with the citizens and seeing that they were content. I feel like I'm forgetting something else. Anyway, it'll get back to me. I also have the Mon Valley Emergency Medical Service. This will be January's 2020 report. Emergency calls 169, fire standbys 9, total incidents of 178. I currently do not have the fire report in front of me, but I will go over the revenue form for public safety and code enforcement officers report for February 10th, 2022, when this was printed out. Street opening permits, $4,400. Sign permits, $50. Habitation permits, $805. Yard waste pickup, $50. Total $5,305. I also have the police department's report. Parking permits, $320. Total miscellaneous collections, $225. Current receipts from the District Justice Office, $661.58. Total receipts collected for January 2022, $1,206.58. Motion number 1 we've already done in the previous meeting, so I will skip that, but I would like to make a motion to advertise civil service exam for the police department.
Is there a second?
I think we did that one too. So, yeah, it's advertised below there, yeah. So, other than that, Mayor, I yield the floor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I have one question. How many citations did the police make, and how much money did that bring in?
I currently don't have that information in front of me, but I'd be welcome to give that, so
Well, I have it in the next report.
I'll see what I can do. Thank you.
Lois?
Good evening, everyone. Our streets report for January 2022. The streets department collected garbage downtown twice a week. They answered 20 PA1 calls, answered several complaints, plowed and salted streets. They were called out for overtime 14 times for snow removal, water breaks, and fallen trees. Just a reminder to the city, and hopefully it doesn't happen anymore, snow, but in case it does, that they will plow and salt our main streets and hills first. Then our secondary streets and alleys will be last. And they just want to thank you for your patience in clearing our streets. One of the other things, when you're driving from the bridge after the roads are completed, you see that help keep Pennsylvania beautiful. And then you come into Monessen, and you can go up hills and through the towns, and you see garbage and trash throughout. So I'm just trying to work on an initiative where it's similar to the Adopt a Highway program, where hopefully residents will adopt a block or a street, and they will commit to at least cleaning that street or that block at least once a month or more, depending on how often they can. It can be a single person, or they can have a group that will be committed to doing that. So once we get that set up, they will be able to call down to City Hall and say, hey, my friend and I are committed to this block or this street. So hopefully, the more people we get involved, the better our city will look. Okay. But also I have a library report from Dave Zilla, the director. He says he just wanted to thank the 3 individuals who volunteered to serve on and were appointed to the Library Board of Trustees. They were Joe Bozick, Don McKechnie, and Mark Galper. In the month of January, the people counter was 1,175 people who patronized the library. The 2022 library budget is available on the library website, and the 2021 audit will be available this spring. That's about all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
I have one. In your next report, could you please include the budget or the plan to take care of all the potholes, because they're gonna get worse? And you did good with the salt and clean, but over the potholes, they're getting bigger and bigger.
They actually have cold patch in, and they patch it up as much as they can. When the weather's not bad, they can't do it when it's raining. Okay, so they get it in, and they can only do so much every day, because they do have other things they have to do also. But they're out there patching. If you notice, you'll see patching done throughout the city. They're only working with 7 men at total. 1 is off on unemployment, so they're only working with as few people as they can to get it patched.
Do they have enough of the patch material?
Oh yeah, it's stacked up there, but it goes quickly, because like you said, there are a lot of potholes in the city. And the city's large, and you only have a certain number of employees to do that.
Very good, thank you.
Oh, definitely, I go up that way, you know I do.
The snow plows are critical when it's snowing, but they are devastating to the roads.
Damaging the roads, right?
They just rip the roads up. And
Big pieces. But please, if you have a pothole that needs repair, you need to just call down the city garage and let them know, and they will go to it. They just have to be notified, just like you on TV, you see, report a pothole. Do the same for them.
Sometimes it's the whole street.
Yeah, definitely. The whole street needs to be paved back, basically.
Okay, Don Greger, would you like to?
I have no current report this time.
Okay, thank you. At this time, that concludes.
Oh, one thing, if I may, just a reminder about 9th Street Park. This Saturday, they will be having a ceremony to rename 9th Street Park the Anthony E. Madison Senior Veterans Memorial Park. The ceremony takes place at 12 noon at 9th Street Park. It should be a nice event. It started out just as a basic program. Chris is back there, but so many people volunteered to help. It was basically just going to be the program, and now we have grilling taking place, the canteen coming up for the Salvation Army. It's going to be a big affair. I think it's going to be more attended than we thought so. So I think there are going to be a lot of people, a lot of family members, a lot of friends are coming in. So it's going to be a nice event. A lot of people are saying, well, it's going to be cold. But they're doing this commemorated during the time that it actually took place during the month of February. So just bundle up and let's come. There's no snow. So let's just bundle up and come and celebrate that. It's a great event for the city and for the family. Chris is in the back. He spearheaded the whole program.
That concludes the old business that we're taking motions on. At this point, we talk a little bit about some of the things that are on people's minds and so forth for going forward for the next meeting. The first of which is, that I have listed here, is to study a cooperative agreement for the purposes of providing services set forth in the Monessen Blythe Plan proposal, including the ArcGIS hub site option. This will cost the city $7,500 plus approximately $1,300 per month. That is a major expense for the city in the condition it is in right now. But it has a lot of value too. And I think that we all need to probably read the agreement, study it and determine if that's the best use of this money in order to address our Blythe issue. It is part of what the comprehensive plan set forth. It really is kind of critical that we follow that plan. It is something though that we need to really review and talk about. The other thing is that I wanted to bring up real quick, and something that is not really, will be a motion, but something that's more of an initiative, and it really stems off what Lois was talking about. There's lots of things going on right now. We have a new carrier for our refuge, for our garbage collection. Good, bad, or indifferent, that came because we have a refuge authority, and that's the agreement that they signed with Noble. For whatever it means, had we gone with the waste management option that had been there before, it would have been $1 million more, and we would have had major problems paying that bill because we'd already collected $175, and that was not enough to cover it. So, all I'm really saying is, it used to be, anything you could get on the curb, they'd come pick it up and take it away. Just about. If a person could pick it up and throw it in the truck, they'd pretty much do it. That's not the case anymore. Now you have very specific requirements for the garbage can. I think it's, I forget the exact number, but I think it's 150 gallons, 155 gallons of garbage that they will pick up. That's 3 55-gallon drums. It's a fair amount of garbage, but it's not a couch. It's not an end table. It's not a lot of things that we used to be able to put at the curb and they'd be gone. Right now, we have a number of houses that people are dumping on because of this problem. And we've got to figure out a way to get around it. That I think as a community, we need to understand that this is different. If you've got a lot of garbage, you're going to have to pay to get rid of it when it gets to be more than will fit in your garbage cans. But above and beyond that, as it starts warming up, I would like to encourage everybody to see if we could get together and form a weekend where we go and pick up some of this garbage and figure out a way to get rid of it, because there are houses with driveways that are cluttered with household goods because they can't get rid of it. We got to end that. That just brings the whole neighborhood down.
Maybe we should start a recycling center.
Maybe so. Let's work on it. I'm all ears. Absolutely. We got to come up with a solution because we can't live in garbage, and that's just what is happening. I really, it's a problem.
What is on Seneca, where the street department is? They have a section there. Who do they give that to? Remember when we collected the TVs? Who came and got that?
I don't know.
That goes to Westmoreland Cleanways in Greensburg.
Okay, and maybe we can have a program to do that?
And they collect all year round, and then they actually take it up there, but they wait till they get a whole lot, and then they get it.
But see, that means that we have to have somewhere to store it for them to come pick it up. And if everybody in Monessen start bringing stuff down to the street department, they'll be all over the place. So maybe we should open up a separate facility where they come every week to collect it.
We definitely need to put some energy into exploring different things. The Noble Refuge, I forget what their name is. Noble Environmental. There's 3 individuals, and I've met 2 of the 3 people. They're young. They want to do the right thing, but they're also there to make a dollar. They understand that they give cut rate services. It's far cheaper than what we were paying before, or far cheaper than what it would cost us to continue getting what we had. The point being is they're not willing to go broke in the process of supporting Monessen either. So we need to work with them. I don't think we're going to solve it tonight, but I do think that we need to work together. And as it warms up and more people are out and willing to work and pick this stuff up, we need to put together a program to do that.
They will take one large item besides your garbage, but they only take one large at a time. Like, you know, if my brother, he put out a couch one week, but then the next week he put out the love seat. So they will take one large item in additional to your regular garbage.
That's good.
But like I said, just one at a time.
And if you call them, you can make arrangements with them
Mobile supply
to pick it up.
I have
trucks,
Tow truck.
mobile supply truck other than the regular garbage truck that say once a month or whatever time frame. A huge truck that's open, has an open bed, and can they, on a certain period of time, can they go around, would that be too costly to pick up these items? To haul?
I really don't have the answer to that, but I do know that that probably is not in the contract, and contracts are contracts. The,
Hey, Mayor, before you open for public comment, may I return to the floor? I remember I wanted to ask, Chief Heppel, how are the sirens? Are they okay now? Or,
Talk is back to operating, number one is not.
okay.
Going into the former city hall, the one that's on 103rd Street, and the problem's not inside, so it's gonna take a technician to come out and look at it.
All right.
And, that'll have to be during the time that the property shop is open, so we can get in the building, so I'm in the process of setting that.
Thank you so much for bringing it to our attention.
As far as the fire report, I did give you one for the last meeting, you said you agreed with this one. There was 27 calls for the month, 276 total responding, 12.76 per call, and 280 some total now.
Thank you, Chief, and I must have lost it, but thank you.
Next month we'll be on the
Yep. Thank you, Chief.
very good. At this time, unless there's anything else that council would like to add to the agenda for next meeting, I'd like to open this up for public comments.
I have two questions. One, when are you going to decide on the administrator, and do you know that there's an ordinance that he has to be here unless you change the ordinance?
First off, that was on the agenda. We voted on that.
Okay, but is he from here?
He's a consultant. It's a consultant for a 3-month period. We still got to find us a permanent
Well,
solution.
that's what I mean, yeah, not the company, but whoever you're gonna pick has to be from Monessen.
That's not true.
Unless you change the ordinance. I don't know, that's what I was told.
I don't think there's a...
No?
If I can jump in, I believe the ordinance reads it's up to council's discretion, which when Judith Taylor was here, she was hired through the DCED process. Council took that action at this time.
Is
at
it
that time.
discretion or is it a vote?
I believe it's the discretion of council, meaning they would have to vote on it, is my understanding.
My second question is, this is following Matt Sherrill's legacy. What happened to his $7,000 website? You guys using it?
We're using it.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, that's cityofmonessen.com.
Yeah, but I was on it a couple of times and it seemed like I had the same info from you.
Well, I tried to update it. If you got ideas for new stuff, there's an example, there's the general account as it was when we took office. There's the announcement for the 9th Street Park on there. The agenda is published on there.
Okay, so you're doing this, Mayor, you're adding...
Right now, but that's what city administrators would be for.
All right, well, that's it.
Okay. Mayor and Council, my name's Bernie. First of all, I own a pasta shop here at 509 Donner Avenue. I know when they tear that building down, 500 building, and that's probably going to be a health hazard, so if you suggest I should close for that week or something else again, if this can give me a little bit of a notice, I appreciate this. This is when I'm buying food products. I think it'd be in the best interest I would close for that period of time because all the dust and from the pigeons and all that stuff, so I don't have a problem with it, but I appreciate if the mayor or council could tell me, hey, how about shutting down for a week or 10 days or whatever.
Right.
So I'll do that.
One of the things that we will have to do, depending on the study that we do, is we'll have to keep it wet so there will be no dust.
That's a good idea. That's what we thought. Me and my friend were talking about to keep it wet, keep the dust down. We're going to need to close Donner Avenue now? You don't think so?
The goal is not doing more than what's already shut down, the lane, the PennDOT lane.
Yeah. Okay, anything I ask you, just You just give me a little bit of a notice, not a long notice, just a few days' notice, and just while I'm buying food products that go to waste, you know.
We are going to move as fast as we can, but we've got to make sure that we've addressed all the different things that we have to address. The historic things, the DEP things, all these different issues. We're not going to do anything that's not right.
I'd be like that, yeah. Where's the pigeons want to go? Put housing up for the pigeon? I always joke about it.
You can always open a couple windows upstairs.
Yeah, I can put them up
The
there.
Historical Society told me that they'd be happy to see those pigeons gone because they keep hitting the windows.
Yeah, I find more dead pigeons than they do hit the windows, yeah.
Yeah.
They do. I find them all the time. And there's 2 hawks in Monessen too, keep tearing the heads off the pigeons too.
Well, that's, we need more of them.
Yeah, I know. Hey, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Yes. My name's Ed Lefevre. I live at 19 Keystone Drive. This may be a silly, dumb question, but Mr. Borzakowski, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, for the last 2 months, he has been telling us of the lack of funds. For example, the mayor had to put out $400 for the vehicles, for the gas. The payroll has always seemed to be a problem. So with this idea of financial problems like that, and there probably are many more, I still can't wrap my mind around the idea of a sewage system that's going to cost $15 million. I can't understand why this ordinance can't be pushed down the road when Monessen has more financial problems. I don't understand that.
Couple things, if I can address it real fast. One, it's been pushed down the road at least 10 to 15 years, and the road's got to stop. That's one. Two, we're past, 10 years past imminent collapse of most of the bridges inside the sewer system. Tony Vitale gave us a proposal many years ago and showed when they cambered, and I think it was 2016, 2015?
It was previous to that, it was
Yeah, maybe
2010.
2010. They cambered the systems. And at that time, we had abundance of level 5 failure.
2007 is when they were videoed.
Okay.
66% was only videoed because the other 34% collapsed.
And the ones that were an eminent 5, which means they're ready to collapse, they were ready to collapse years before that. So this is like past borrowed time. And I know you're going to sit there and you make a very good point and go, wait a minute. Why would you put $15 million into a sewer system when I can't even pay the bills every month? Well, for one thing, that could be a public nuisance because I wouldn't want sewage going all over the city. Two, you have to...
Is that happening?
You could also say, and I want to use
So
this
it's
term...
sewage on the streets right now.
Yeah.
Every summer that we've had that problem with, we address it, but it's happened many times in the last year.
Where? I haven't seen it.
You're aware of one of them that happened not far.
And, yeah, there was a,
And the newspaper never reported.
And on Donner. And on Donner.
And the
By Frank's-
newspaper,
by Frank's
what,
Garage.
is that what we have a newspaper for?
Well, I think that
And now Seneca.
yeah, and over by the railroad tracks over here.
Fine, inform the Monessen residents of this problem, and that should come through the local newspaper.
But this problem has been notified to the residents of Monessen for at least 10 years.
Okay, let me ask you this then. In the last 10 years, you're telling me there was no profitable city administration that didn't have any funds to address this problem?
Not this scope of a problem, you have to have federal...
Well, then let me ask you this.
can I jump in here just to,
Sure.
because what Mr. Wojciechowski and everybody's saying is correct. The city's under a long-term control plan that was implemented by the Department of Environmental Protection. They have been sending monthly updates since they entered that long-term control plan of how they were progressing to fix this. They have 2 very low interest loans to accomplish this. If the city does not move forward with that, the DEP is not going to have a long-term control plan, because that's the city telling DEP, we know we have a problem, we have to fix it. The DEP will come to town and either force the city to enter a consent decree, meaning there's no option, you have to follow this, it's essentially a court order. At that point, the city would have to go to the private market to borrow additional bond financing, and the interest rates are going to be much higher. And it's going to be much more costly. This is the only viable financial option for the city to fix these sewers, and they have to fix these sewers.
And again, my question is, say the past 3 or 4 administrations of this city was not aware of this? Did they just kick the can down the road?
Pretty much.
I mean, these are 100-year-old sewers.
I understand.
Also, take a little bit different. Well, let me make one statement here. I have been a taxpayer all my life. This is the first time I've ever did into public service. And as a taxpayer, I used to get very upset at city council if they ever misused my money. And when I say that, if they ever had 2 cents in their account that wasn't key marked, I was upset because that's 2 cents that I should have kept for my taxes and shouldn't have had to pay. By the same token, they better be able to make their debt. Now, when I became mayor, we had a major problem. There's no doubt. Everybody understood that. We came in, we had $9,000, we had payroll, $79,000, we had to borrow, we had to go to DCD. But the point being is, after that, we got past that initial huddle, I sat down and I graphed out when we get the money. Well, historically, I looked at the last 5 years of when money comes in, when people pay their garbage, when people pay their real estate tax, when all these different monies come in. And there is very definite times and lulls in that curve. Running the city government is complicated because you've got to anticipate those areas. And when we came in, we didn't have that option. We were given what we had.
I understand.
The bottom line is we the city has lived off the garbage collection. In March, here just next week, everybody's going to get their real estate tax notice. It shows that we will receive sometime in March, somewhere in the neighborhood of about $500,000, a little bit over $500,000 in people that make early payment on their real estate. And I urge all people to pay as soon as they can because we need the money back. But in come April, that's when the end of the period for discount happens. We'll get well over $1 million in April. The point being is you can plot out this and you can plan how things happen. A TAN note would have been ideal because TAN notes address these lull points that we've had issues with. I've met with bankers. The problem is bankers are going to want to look at good, solid management over the last 3 to 4 years. And I'm not going to say, but they are not happy with the way things have been done. And as a result, we've not had any bank that's been willing to give us a TAN note. Now,
Well, I can go back then, say, 3 administrations, and I can find out the names of all the people on council and the mayor, and I can lay the blame at them.
well, maybe, but we didn't have a USD. First off, it was several years ago that they first made contact with the USDA to get this loan in the first place. That didn't just happen overnight. That took many years to do. That was something.
Let me address this.
No, I have the...
Let me
I'm
I'm going to answer you. I'm going to answer you.
I have the podium. If you want to speak,
Just wait a
speak
second.
after me.
The bottom line is, it took many years to develop that relationship with USDA to get the loan. It wasn't until about 1.5 years ago that the USDA finally said, yes, you can borrow this money. It took us 1.5 years in order to line up PNC Bank to handle the interim financing for this project. I would like to think that we have a much better council right now, that we know how to manage money. I mean, we got one of the tightest guys in the world here running the ship. That's got to happen because every penny counts. The reason why you've been paying $27 a month is for this USDA sewer project.
And it'll go up.
You know,
They shouldn't.
Mr. Beaver, if I can, you know what? I think a lot of the blame also falls on us as residents. I don't know about you, but, I didn't always attend meetings, I'm telling the truth. I didn't attend meetings, I had family I worked in. We didn't hold our council and our mayors accountable. So a lot of the blame falls on us because we vote them in, but we don't continue and follow through. If we came to meetings every meeting like Ernie and Linda did and held us accountable, we wouldn't be in this position that we are in today. So we gotta take a lot of the blame too.
Well, this announcement of this meeting
Yes.
appeared one time in Saturday's paper. Now, why didn't this announcement appear today? To announce this, then we would have maybe twice as many Monessen residents. Well,
The
yeah, it's on the
agenda-
calendar.
First of all, you can't put 20 more people in there. Our fire chief will not allow that. That is beyond occupancy. That's a problem.
What about-
That's not an excuse, that's a reality. Let's get talking realities here. You can't fill this place like it used to be sometimes in the other buildings.
So you're discouraged?
You were above
I
capacity in
didn't
the
say
other
that.
building.
Right.
You were
So,
always above capacity there.
so there's a problem. And that's something I know the chief, and he has every right to would bring that out and say, this is a fire hazard, you can't do it. That's not going around skirting what you're saying, but again, the facts are what they are. I could sit here and probably yourself and a bunch of other people wouldn't like to hear it, and I can give you facts, and I can give you papers, and I can give you bank statements, and I can give you check numbers, and I could go back for probably 3 or 4 years. I can even go back even farther. People could even say, why did we spend $5 million on a new fire department and police department? Why? It put the next administration or the city in debt for 40 years. I'm not saying it was right, I'm not saying it's wrong, but when that happened and put $2.5 million to renovate a library. Thank God a library, it's nothing to knock against the library. But $2.5 million to renovate a library. I could have bulldozed the sucker and built a brand new one, but it didn't happen. So those are things you could go back on and we could say shoulda, coulda, woulda. We could blame everybody, and I'm sure all of us up here would be able to say a lot of things. It doesn't solve, as the mayor has tried to do, going forward and what we can change.
Well, that wasn't my comment.
My comment was how it happened to administrations, past administrations.
No, that wasn't my final comment.
Okay,
My
what's your
comment was, this announcement appeared one time in the local paper, and I guess what I'm saying is, I've seen in Pittsburgh, for example, their council meetings, they have a lot of room. You mean to tell me, or let me say it this way, is it possible to have a building which is larger than this? Say even the auditorium of Monessen High School. If you encourage a lot of Monessen residents to come, and you can't accommodate them here,
There are places.
well,
Move
there are
it to the high,
places.
move it to the high
We
school, for
moved
sure.
we moved the first
But
meeting.
then again, you don't know what the attendance will be.
Correct.
So my argument is, the local newspaper puts this announcement on the back of the paper instead of in the front of the paper, so Monessen residents can see, maybe they would be interested. Not a little column on the back of the newspaper.
Sorry, Ms. Thomas, I'm going to disagree that the residents weren't notified of this borrowing. It's been discussed at every single
No,
council meeting
I'm
this
not
year.
talking about the borrowing. I'm just talking about this meeting tonight. And any meeting.
Second and fourth Thursday of every month.
But you have to reiterate, people forget very easily. I know I do. And I'm getting older and I forget a lot. But you have to keep reminding people that if it's repetition.
I don't control the newspaper, I don't control the media, but
Well,
you're right. And there could be a lot more people in this room. There's a lot of empty space here.
I understand. One more comment. Who is Mike Korpash? Who is he? Where is he from?
Mike Korpash he's not here today, and that's really too bad. But Mike Korpash should be fairly well known. He was part of the strategic planning for the strategic plan, the comprehensive plan.
Is he a Monessen resident?
He lives in Bell Vernon, I do believe. But nonetheless, he's the one that organized all those meetings when they were trying to develop that plan. He is, I will say that he's very well connected politically. He knows all the people in Harrisburg. He's very well connected.
Very knowledgeable,
Very knowledgeable.
very, very knowledgeable.
And easy to work with. I'm looking forward to it.
Then the public needs to know who he is and why he's being considered. Again, the newspaper has to come in and inform us.
One of the things that we've done every meeting thus far is we've used a solicitor to call the roll. That's ridiculous. That is a city administrator job.
I agree.
He's doing a good job.
He's doing a good job,
Appreciate it.
but that is a city administrator job. It's a city administrator job to put together this agenda that has lots of errors and mistakes in it, to present this packet of information for us. I look forward to a city administrator like you could not believe. It is my mental health.
You know what, Mike, he says he has a question. You think Mike might consider maybe once he's on board coming to a meeting just so people?
I think he will be
get a chance
required
meet
to become to the
him?
meetings.
Well, that's definitely, he'll be here, so you will get a chance to meet him. Yeah, definitely.
You vote on that.
We already did.
Don't forget to do.
Oh, he'll be here, he'll be doing the solicitor's job, who's doing his job right now.
No, absolutely. That is part of the job function. Anything else anybody like to talk about?
How much more credit you got on your credit card? So if you need to belt them out.
And by the way, I want to make sure everybody understands, that whole problem occurred only because of timing and the way that they paid their bill. I actually put it on my credit card, but I was reimbursed immediately by the city. So it wasn't like I paid the gas, I got reimbursed. So I'm not trying to take any credit for anything that didn't, that's the way it happened. I just made it easy. It got to be kind of interesting when fire trucks started showing up, and they only need an eighth a tank of gas, only a couple of gallons. It wasn't because they needed the gas, it's because they wanted to see the mayor put the gas in the truck. But nonetheless, I love them all. I love all of Monessen, I truly do. So.
And he had to ask me for permission to pay him back. I like that.
So it is now 7:57.
Mayor, motion to adjourn today's meeting on February 24th, 2022 at 7:57 p.m.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. We're done.